Morning, my name's Simon, this is for Bennett's Bike Social. Welcome to sunny Spain and welcome to the launch of Yamaha's 2020 MT-125.
It's all gone downhill.
It's all gone downhill?
It's all gone downhill.
Oh mate. That has been a thoroughly enjoyable day riding around on Yamaha's new MT-125, new for 2020. Well, it's kind of new. It's new in the sense that it's pretty much all changed from last year's MT-125, but it's an awful lot of it is the same as last year's YZF-R 125. So, starting with the engine, no surprise then, it's inherited the variable valve timed engine from the YZF-R 125. Now what that means is there's a sort of a dual cam on the inlet side and a little solenoid sticks a pin across and switches from one cam to the other above 7,500 RPM, which you cannot feel. There's no change in power delivery, but you can see that it's happening because on the clocks a little sign lights up to tell you. Now what Yamaha say that does is spread the torque, available torque out, so you get the benefits of a mild cam timing and more torque at the bottom end. You also get the benefits of a sort of a wild cam timing at the top end. It's kind of hard to tell. It's been a fair while since I rode an MT-125 and changes between power curves on these kinds of bikes are really hard to detect unless you're riding them back to back, and even then maybe you need to put them on the dyno to see. And obviously peak power is still the same, so it's still making 15 horsepower, but the revs are up, so it's now revving another 1,000 RPM, so it's doing 15 horsepower at 10,000 RPM instead of 9,000 RPM. Correspondingly, there's a tiny drop in peak torque. Now that's maybe not as bad as it sounds, because if Yamaha are spreading that torque out more, it's just not making quite as much peak torque. But again, I think a dyno would really tell you. Certainly on the road, it's a really lively little engine. I've ridden quite a few 4-stroke 125s, and this thing really does fly. It zips up to its 70, 80 miles an hour quite easily, and it'll hold it pretty much anywhere. So yeah, it's quite a feisty little power plant. Before we get onto the styling, we'll just talk about the tank, because that's quite a significant thing. The tank is actually smaller than last year's. Now, it was 11.5 litres last year. This year it's down to 10 litres. Now, making fuel tanks smaller is never a good idea, I don't think anyway. But according to the onboard fuel consumption, this thing's doing about 108 miles per gallon today, and we have been thrashing it, which means you're still going to get over 200 miles from the tank, hopefully. So maybe it's not quite such a deal breaker. The reason the tank has shrunk is because part of the restyle has been to compact the riding position and almost compact the bike. Part of that means moving the ignition barrel from the headstock back into an area that used to be occupied by a fuel tank, except now it's got a key and an ignition barrel there instead. So just talking about that restyle, it's very much kind of MT-09-ish. So we've got these LED lights, this sort of main single LED light here, then these two sort of side lights above it. Obviously it's very MT-09 colours with this kind of primer grey and the red wheels. And also, yeah, Yamaha have shortened the riding position a little bit, so the bars are a little bit higher and a little bit further set back. The seat height is still said to be 8-10 millimetres, but it's actually bringing you in now, so it's actually further forwards. And it does feel very much like an MT-09. It's a lot taller than you think it's going to be when you get on it. You're sat quite high. It's like, this is quite substantial. The days when you'd get on being 6 foot and old and slightly overweight, the days when you'd get on a 125 and completely crush its suspension are kind of over. This thing feels like a proper motorbike. not just to sit on as well, it also feels like it in sort of its quality touches as well. It's got new suspension. So obviously we've got the steel Delta Box frame, which I think is copied from the YZF R125, aluminium swing arm. This new Kayaba suspension is really, really good. 41mm upside down forks. We've actually got a radial caliper on the other side here on a 292mm disc, which is the same size as last year. And we've got a Kayaba, or a KYB, rear shock as well. They're really good. It feels quite quality. When you sit on the bike, you can feel it take your considerable weight and just sink nicely. There's none of that kind of springiness or bounciness that you sometimes get with cheap suspension. And say it quietly, sometimes Yamaha's budget stuff isn't that good. This is unadjustable, of course, but apart from preload at the back. But yeah, good suspension. And the braking is really good as well. Obviously it's ABS equipped now. Levers aren't adjustable, which is a bit of a pain because that span's quite large there. So what else is new on the bike? Well, we have new clocks, obviously. So again, Yamaha have got rid of that slightly strange 3-section LCD affair from last year. Now we've got a lot more information. So we've got a gear position indicator. As I said, we've got a little thing that tells us when we've got variable valve actuation. And they've inverted the clocks as well. So now it's a black background, white numbers on. Looks more modern, looks sleeker, looks nicer. I mean, it's not flat screen, don't get me wrong. It's not that kind of TFT type thing. And it hasn't got that multimedia interactivity that you get with, I think KTM's 125 Duke has that sort of that Bluetooth integration. But overall, yeah, it's been a really, really fun day. Quite surprisingly fun, because I did think, you know, maybe in some of these Spanish hills it was going to struggle a little bit, and it hasn't. It's been a right hoot. It's good handling too. Another thing that's really important, this bike is actually assembled at Yamaha's French factory. And you can tell because sometimes 125s and 250s and 400s come with really, really poor quality tyres as standard. These things are really good. Comes from built in France, French tyres, Michelin Pilot Streets. Now they're not bad, they're really good, especially when you've got a light bike that's gone really light wheels and light suspension. What you really need is good rubber to just give the thing a bit of road holding. This has got it. Certainly some of the sketchy conditions we were out in today, the tarmac was a bit choppy, some of it was wet, some of it was dry, there was some mixed stuff. Loads of confidence, plenty of confidence, which is, again, it was a pleasant surprise. And there's some quality touches as well. Again, it's only small stuff, but it's stuff that's quite important. The primer finish is, well, you like it or you don't, but the filler cap has just got a kind of a nice quality feel to it. The foot pegs, you've got these aluminium pegs, proper aluminium pegs. They feel proper. Little metallic badges here. Again, it feels like a proper motorbike. So yeah, overall, I'm really impressed. I'm not quite sure about the price though. That is one thing that might let the bike down a little bit. Now at £4,449, which is a fair bit more than it was last year, I think that puts it right at the top end of its rivals. Now, I guess that's something you've just got to cope with. That's what it costs. That's what you're going to have to pay if you want this bike. Do you want this more than you want, I don't know, a 125 or the KTM or something from Kawasaki? You've got to make that choice. But I really like it. I think if I was in my 20s, I think I can remember back that far, I would really, really enjoy riding this bike. Yeah, really good piece of kit. Now, you can read more about it on the Bike Social website. That's Bennett's Bike Social, and the web address is bikesocial.co.uk. That will have a full review, and everything that I've forgotten to tell you about will be up there. Thank you for watching.